Hey, Teresa, how you doing? Okay. All right. Thanks so much for resubmitting. Um, let's go ahead and take a look here. Okay. I think that you're set up pretty well. I think that you're really starting to understand how to establish typographic hierarchy, which is one of the most important things that you can do as a designer. It really is. I mean, I cannot emphasize the importance of this exercise enough. Be sure to check out page 101 in your textbook. I think that gives a really nice synopsis of how to create hierarchy, typographic hierarchy, using changes in contrast changes in scale as well as typographic weight. Not to mention placement and proximity as well. So, first one, you've done this is a good job. The only hierarchy established in this first composition is based on grouping. So that's fantastic. Everything else remains the same. So we can clearly see how we have established 4 different groups, which is establishing hierarchy. Okay, now my only, well, I'm going to talk about composition in a second. But right now, let's just talk about hierarchy. I'll come back in a second. We'll address composition in each of these 4 examples. Okay, so the second. In the second design, you want to introduce one new weight and one new size. So we're talking about scale and weight, right? This is good, though. This is good. This is very clearly the first position in typographic hierarchy, or as the way I see it, that's what is intended to be the first position in typographic hierarchy. Now, you've established a difference in weight and in scale, right? Scale here and weight here. So this particular composition has got a little bit of ambiguity in the typographic hierarchy because this size is larger than this. If not larger, it's darn close. So you want to be really, really deliberate in scale. So if this is intended to be the first place you want your viewer to look, let's go ahead and reduce the size of this type right here. Because right now, this is kind of fighting. These are kind of fighting. Even though this is bolder, this is just as heavy. So they're basically almost the same in terms of typographic hierarchy. So for that reason, I would recommend reducing the size of the point size of these 3 lines right here. So you definitely have very clear hierarchy. We have a shared hierarchy between this entry, and this entry. Okay, so the way I see this hierarchy, we go 1, 2, and then 3 down here. Okay, this one introduced multiple contrasts in weight and scale. But if you think about it, right now, you've got these multiple contrasts, right? But right now you've got this that's bold, and this isn't. Other than that, they're sitting on the same position in the composition, so they're otherwise alluding to the fact that they share equal importance. So I'm not sure about making this one bold and leaving this one. So think about how you can really establish a hierarchy based on multiple scales and multiple weights. Maybe, well, I'm going to leave that up to you. Right now you've got this weight. This is heavier type. This is a little smaller, but it's bold. And then you've got these 2. So basically the eye is going like this. It's going first position, second position, third, and then fourth and fifth are kind of being shared, right? So in this particular case, my recommendation here would be experiment further with multiple weights and scales to establish the way you want the viewer to look through the composition. Right now the viewer is going first, second, then third, because this is bold, then fourth, then fifth. So if you kind of watch the eye movement, the eye is going from here to here to here to here to here. So there's a lot of jumping around going, and I think a lot of that can be rectified with typographic alignment, which all points to the grid. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Okay, and then this, I think this is good. This is good. Definitely got an entry point here. Now watch your grouping, because right now I think that you've got Factory Cortez, Silver Paint. Right now, it looks like this. These are 2 separate ideas, okay? Because you have Factory Cortez and then Silver Paint. Let's get these grouped. Maybe you can reduce the size of this line right here. Maybe start that line right here. Factory Cortez, Silver Paint. Then On the next line, black super sports stripes, and then on the next line, clear coat. All in the same typeface right here. But let's just, create some typographic alignment here. Okay, and then the bottom I think looks good. Now the next thing I want to address here in your composition, your work is the use of the grid. And again, this is really, really super important. So be sure that you're reviewing all of these assets over here, including this video here. Now, the one thing I want to say is now take a look at this grid right here. Do you see how this grid has a margin established? And and then right here too, there's a clear margin right here, breaking the margin here and here, but nonetheless, there's a clear margin, and then the grid is constructed within the margin. Okay, in yours, it looks like you're constructing the grid to the outside of the page. So there are no margins per se. Okay, we have a little misalignment right here. This first line is not in alignment with these lines. Okay, so watch your use of the grid. You really want to adhere to that grid. Now, you can, when you're in when you're in InDesign, this video up here shows you how to set up and use a grid using InDesign. You can either align the grid to the margins or align the grid to the page. I always align the grid to the margins. That way you get this nice kind of frame on the page. Okay, and you know where not to exceed placement of objects based on that gutter right there. Okay, so that's what I recommend. In Illustrator, what you would do is you would set up, you would come in here and let's say you want an inch margin. So what you would do is you would just come in and draw a square inside that square of a 1-inch margin, right? And then you would establish your grid within this so that the grid is leaving the margin, preserving the margin, allowing you to understand where to place elements so they're not encroaching on the edge of the page like we see here, here, and here. Okay, so right now I think your type is really close to the margin. I would definitely bring that in a little bit. Give yourself a nice clear distance between the with your type anyway, between the page edge and the margin. Okay. And listen, go ahead and review page 101, and you're doing a good job. Just keep thinking this through. I really don't want to give you exactly, I don't want to give you direction, say go like this, and then do this, and then do this. I want you to figure this out because it's just so important, Teresa. This might be one of the most valuable lessons that you'll have in school, and that is typographic hierarchy and adhering to an underlying grid in your composition. So really super important stuff. So keep working. Great start. And if you have any questions at all, please let me know. Okay, thanks.